Hey guys, welcome back to another skate tips and tricks video, and today I want to go over my settings that I'm using for the game, and I'm hoping that they will help you as well to find the right settings for you. Just keep in mind that these are my personal settings, so not all of them might work for you as well. So you still have to try out what's best for your playstyle. And we're gonna get right in with the general settings. And here I have the name tags off, the scoring trigger as well, the D-pad as well, and the flick-it visualizer, so your HUD is a lot cleaner. Then radial menu on release, invert session marker, I have it off, but if you would like the controls inverted, so you press long to return to it and you only press once to set a session marker, you can set this right here. Then enable session marker undo. I would definitely keep this on because sometimes you accidentally return and then you might want to go back. So I would definitely keep this on. Then this is the distance in which the session marker undo works. So this is just by default and this works pretty well. Release notes on boot, you can turn this off if you don't want to see it. I have it turned on just in case I miss something as a content creator. Then pedestrians, if you don't want to see them, traffic as well, you can turn it off. But I think the city will be a little bit empty then, more empty than it actually is. Crossplay enabled, I don't think you have any reason to disable it. Then we have allow spectate and allow teleport. If you don't want other people to spectate you, you might want to set this to friends and party or no one. So I don't know whether actually 6 of those, only 3 work. By default it's set to everyone, so if this is not a problem for you, you can keep it like this. Also the teleport. Then quick gestures, I have it turned on, which would actually mean that your skater does the latest used gesture when tapping L1, but for me it's not working. Then we head over to the gameplay, and this is, I think, the most important part for a lot of you. So we're gonna start with the controls and then work our way through to the camera. So I'm starting with the control preset experienced. If you have classic, you have a more casual experience, but I would actually recommend to put it to experienced because I think it already feels a lot better. Even if you only put it from classic to experienced and don't change anything else, just the whole game just feels more heavy, it has more weight to it, it's not as floaty. So I can really recommend to go to experienced. Then we have the default stance, which is of course personal preference. I'm skating regular, so I have put it to regular. Then the flick-it sensitivity, there's only 3 steps right here, and by default it's 50, and that defines your stick movement speed and how it translates to your flip tricks and to their speed and height. There is not that much of a difference between these 3 stages right here, but I feel like I have more control over my flip tricks and their speed, especially when it comes to those slow motion flicks with the setting at 0. And if you're looking for more realistic settings, this is also what you want to aim for. So you really get these slow motions if you want them, but you also get the fast flicks when you want those. Forward to medium push, I have it turned off because I'm pushing with the buttons. Then forward to pump, I would recommend to turn this on because this is really a game changer in vert skating, and I'm gonna show you why right here. Because normally you would use your left and right triggers to pump, which works pretty well, but sometimes you go too far down and then you're doing a grab instead. So you don't really want to do that. So instead I'm just moving the stick forward. And you can actually get a lot of speed on transitions with this, and in a lot of height, which is what you want, I guess. Then back to brake, I have this turned off because I'm braking with the button as well. Hold fakie stance. This might be something that some of you prefer to have turned on. I prefer to have it turned off, and I'm going to show you the difference. So if you have it turned on, what your skater does, if you do a revert for example, it holds the fakie stance until you press the push button. So you can skate around like this basically forever if you want to. Then you press the push button and your skater goes into your regular stance. Now, with the option turned off, I think from the description it sounds like your skater would not go into fakie at all, or at least not holding it for a while, but that's actually not true, and that's why I have it turned off, because you can turn around and it holds it for I think about a second, 1.5 seconds. So if you want to do a trick, a fakie trick, you can still do that. And if you want your skater to transition faster back to your normal stance, you can still press the push button. But again, this is really personal preference, so maybe try both settings and see what works best for you. Then use front, back, foot push controls. I also have this enabled. If you have it disabled, it means that with the square button on the PlayStation controller or with the X button on the Xbox controller, you always push with your left foot. And if you use the X button on PlayStation or A button on Xbox, you always push with your right foot. And independent from your stance. So if I turn around and have a different stance, it's still the left and right foot. Now, what I prefer though is to have this option turned on for the simple reason that with this option turned on and I'm pressing square or X, it's always the front foot that pushes, regardless of my stance. And it's also always the back foot that pushes if I'm using X or A, also regardless of my stance. And I prefer to use this option because it makes tricks like no complies a lot easier, because regardless of your stance, you always have to push the same button. So you don't have to change the button you press for the trick depending on your stance. Then jump button to ollie, of course not. Swap X and square. So in my case with the PlayStation controller, I also have this turned off on the board, but when off board it's turned on. So these are the default settings, I didn't change them. And jump button on release is also turned off. Then heading over to the assist, and here I have the grind assist amount at 25, and I'm going to show you what's the difference. So when you have it at 100, which is the maximum assist you can have in the game, it means that you basically have a magnetic effect when going into grinds. So not no matter how far away you are, but you can be quite far away to get into a grind. And if you would put it all the way down to 0, which means no grind assist at all, you really have to time your grinds right. So it's the more realistic setting, but then again, what can happen with this setting is that you slip off some grinds. So I found that 25 is the best setting for me, but I would recommend something between, I'd say 10 and 25 or 10 and 30. So something along those lines should work fine. So you have a little bit of an assist, but it's not too much. And with this value, hippie flips also still work. Then the vert pump assist is off because you don't want an extra boost when you're pumping right. And the description also says this, that you can actually get a stronger pump if you time your pumps perfectly when you do it manually and you don't need this assist anymore. Then allowed fall height is on 1, so you don't actually slam from basically every height. Then friendlier wipeout threshold is off. Minimum pop height amount is on 0, so you can get the lowest pop possible if you want it. I'm going to show you an example here as well. If I put this at 100, and I'm just going to do a normal ollie. So this is just a normal input and it's really high. And when I'm going to put it back to 1, you can see that it's really depends on my input how high it actually is. You have so much more control over your skating. Then flip tricks catch assist is off. Streamlined flicker tricks as well. See my auto pumping? You can play around with this. What it does is that it gives you full power on one pump. So you don't need precise timing for your pumps. But I think the more you skate transition, the more precise you get in your timing, and then you can turn this off as well. But if you just start transition skating, you might want to use this so you can get a little bit more power off your pumps. Then prevent low air spins is on as well, so this is on by default, so I didn't change it. Require grab while flipping, I don't have this on. Then auto curb pop, I still have this on because I like this sometimes, and sometimes it really helps me. Auto caveman mount is off as well. Then sprint to climb and all of the auto mantle, I would not recommend to turn this on because I tried all of those settings and it just feels terrible. You not only have less control over your climbing and mantling and everything, but it just feels off. I don't know what it is, but I would not recommend to turn this on. Then we have trick toggles, and here if you want to be able to do all of those tricks, so held flip tricks, late flips, slappies, firecrackers, wallies, and so on, I would recommend to turn all of these options on, except for this one, that when on, wallies require a quick ollie, because you want wallies no matter what ollie you do. If you do a quick ollie or not, or a normal one, if you're close to an obstacle or a wall, you want to do a wallie. So I would also recommend to keep this one on. Wallies require an ollie. It might be tempting to turn this off, so you can also trigger ollies with flip tricks, but this will give you some issues when doing other tricks. And I've already talked about this in my pro trick guide, so if you haven't seen this one yet, be sure to check it out as well. You can find it in the info box. Then down there at advanced, we also have the quick ollie, then sideways ollie controls, everything. I would keep just everything on, also the anti-pumping, because it keeps you from getting air when only riding over humps. And here for the pre-wind controls, I would keep it on hold, because the flick, it just feels kind of strange and feels off. And I feel like the hold option is actually the more intuitive one. So if you pre-wind, you go into a trick position and then you do your left stick down and move it to the left, for example, and then you do a 360, which would not be possible if you only move your stick around and you would not pre-wind. Then we're heading over to the camera, which is also an important point. And here I have the horizontal follow strength and vertical follow strength on 3. By default, this is both at 5, and I'm going to show you real quick what it does. So we go to the extremes, which is 10 for both, and that would mean if you're skating and you're doing left, right, then the camera is following you instantly. And it's just, I mean, if you want to do this, if you need this, because it's easier for you to skate like this, then put it up or keep it at default. But I prefer to be a bit more smooth, so I put it down to 3, which means that when I'm turning, the camera follows slower. And I think this just looks so much better. Then field of view is at 80 for me. This is really personal preference. So this would be 50, this would be 100. The higher the field of view, the more you can see around you. The lower it is, the less you can see around you. But 80 works pretty well. Then maintain camera distance. I have this turned off. This is on by default, and it would mean that no matter how high your field of view is, the camera always has the same distance to your skater. Now, I don't want this because I wanted the camera to be a bit more further away from my skater. If you want it to be as close as possible, you can keep it on, and then only your actual FOV changes around your skater, but the distance to your skater itself doesn't change. But if you want the distance to change, you need to turn this option off. Then your onboard camera offset is on 4, because I really like this setting. So it puts you more off the higher you go, and the lower you go, your skater is more in the middle. But I thought a 4 is actually a pretty good setting. Then camera framing is on low. It just looks so much better compared to the high setting. Then the offboard camera horizontal sensitivity, I also got this down. The sensitivity is by default, but I also got the follow strength down to 3, the field of view at 80 as well. But here I maintain the camera distance, because when I have this setting, I barely have any difference between the FOVs and the camera setting when offboard and when onboard, and I just really like that. What you can turn off as well is the offboard default pitch. This is, by default, it's -12. and the more you put this to the right, the lower it is, and the more you put this to the left, the higher it is. But that's really only when you are off board. So if you would put it to 0, you will have the same angle that you have on board when you're off board. So it doesn't really change, and only the offset, the camera offset changes, so you're moving a little bit to the left. I prefer to keep the default value though, because you can see a little bit more around you when running around and when climbing. Then we go to the advanced camera, and here the first thing I have enabled is switch side controls, which gives you the ability to switch your side, your camera side, manually. And I also have dynamic side switching disabled, which is enabled by default, and I thought this was terrible and this was the most annoying thing, so I disabled it pretty quickly after I started playing the game. And also the camera height control is still enabled. So what this does is that when you press the right stick, you will get the high camera, and when you press it again, you will get back to the low camera. Just in case you need this for a spot or something, I would keep this enabled. You don't use this button anyways for anything else, so you can as well keep this, and you have another option for a camera in case you need it. And then of course when you press the left stick, you can switch left and right of your skater. It's always with the same offset, of course. Then camera reset controls is enabled, so you can reset the camera when you are off board and it centers it behind you again, just like it is right now. Then camera shake intensity, of course, down to 0. High speed effects, I have kept this on just because I like the high speed effects. It is this zooming out when you are at the highest speed, so when you're pushing 4 times, you're at the highest speed, and then I think you see the effect, so the camera kind of zooms out a little bit. If you don't like this, just turn it off. Then drop-off pitch prediction is enabled, the collision is down to 0, onboard camera follow at low speed is on as well, and then everything else down here I did not touch at all. So this is the default settings, and I don't think they change with the control preset. Now I also want to show you the graphics that I'm having in case you're also playing on PC and maybe you have some issues with the game. So I have borderless mode because it makes it easier for me to switch to my recording software. VSync is turned off, brightness at 50, dynamic resolution is turned off, then upscaling method is FSR and unbalanced. Then normally I'm playing on ultra, so everything high, because I really like how the game looks with this. And yeah, I don't really want to make it look worse. But if your PC is not pretty good, what you can do as well is, you can actually see how it changes here. So it doesn't have too much of an effect if you turn down some of the settings. It's mostly the lighting and the shadows. So I would go with these settings, texture filtering and quality on high. Then global illumination is, I think, the most important part. Go down to static instead of dynamic. Then static, global illumination quality on medium, lighting on medium, shadow quality on medium as well. I think your PC can do this. If not, put it down to low. Mesh quality, I would keep it on high. Visual effects on medium, post-processing on high as well. Ambient occlusion, it looks pretty weird actually when you put it down to low, but if your PC can't handle it, then put it on low as well. If you can keep it on high, it just looks a little bit nicer. Then depth of field is something that you can entirely turn off if you don't need it. You can see it in the distance a little bit at those trees, that there is a depth of field. And then motion blur quality, no matter what PC you have, I would turn this off completely. Then quickly going over the audio settings, main and sound effects at 80. I have turned up the music volume because I really like the music to be a bit louder. Voice effects at 80. I would highly recommend to disable the V comments, because this is really getting annoying when you return to a session marker a few times and then she always has a comment. And streamer mode, I would recommend to enable this one if you're streaming this game on Twitch or on YouTube, because most of the soundtrack of this game is not royalty free. So you might get your streams muted afterward, or you might even have a copyright claim, and especially on YouTube, your VODs from the streams will disappear entirely from the platform. But just from one content creator to another, be sure to enable this right here. And then we have the accessibility settings, which is I think the first settings you do anyways when you start up this game. So for me it's English on the languages. Subtitles, I would recommend to keep them enabled, because otherwise when you start a challenge you won't see the V comment anymore, and you also don't have the buttons for skipping this introduction scene. So you have to keep this enabled. Then the main volume, again, controller vibration, I have turned it off, but I heard when you're playing with a PS5 controller, you should turn it on because it gives you an incredible feel for the game. And then we have field of view and the camera shake again. And lastly, there is another setting that you should not forget, and you can find this here in social and spectate. So this is your, let's call it, privacy settings. So the first setting is quick drop visibility, and if this is set to everyone like it is by default, you will be able to see everyone's quick drop items. So maybe you're skating a spot right now and someone places a ramp or a rail. Then suddenly you cannot skate this spot anymore, and then you would have to walk over and manually disable this quick drop item. Now, if this is happening to you frequently, be sure to put this setting to either friends and party or to mine only. Then quick drop editing, here the same, I would also put it to friends and party or to no one, because this sets who can edit your quick drop items. So here again, if you're skating a spot and maybe you have set a ramp and then someone else comes around, because you have the setting to everyone, and then they start to move around your ramp or delete it. So if you don't want that, set it to friends and party or no one. Then crossplay enabled, of course. Allow direct join. I have this disabled right now because I just go through the settings and I don't want anyone to join and then just see me standing around here looking at my phone. Usually I have this to friends only. I don't know what it is by default, but I would not recommend to put this to everyone, but friends only, or if you don't want anyone to join, then put it to no one. Then party invites. I know that sometimes party invites pop up from random players because this setting is put to everyone by default. If you don't want that, if you think this is annoying, put it to friends only or no one as well. Then friend requests, same here. If you don't want to get friend requests from other players, turn this to party only or no one, and allow spectate or teleport. We already had these settings, so they just pop up here again. And one last thing I almost forgot are the replay settings. So you can get there when you get into the replay editor, and when you press options, you have a few more settings that you only have here in the replay editor. You won't find them anywhere else. So here you can also set how much you want to be able to view, so how much the replay editor will actually record. And 30 seconds can be a bit short sometimes, so maybe you want to set this to a minute or even 2 minutes, but I think a minute is actually the best option. You can also set the scrub speed here, the photo format and everything, and then which frame rate you want to export your stuff. And I'm also going to show you in a minute where your screenshots and where your videos actually go when you export them. So when you go right here on export in replay editor, and where you can actually find this is right here on users, then your username. So in your Windows installation, then username, app data, local skate in data, and then here you will find screenshots and also your videos. And this is a bit hidden, and also when you go to users, you might not necessarily find the folder that you're looking for. So you have to go to view and then show hidden items, and then you will find app data, and here you can go to local and then scroll all the way down to skate data, and then you have your screenshots or videos again. And these were all of the settings that you can find in Skate, and I hope this video helps you to find the best settings for yourself and for your playstyle, or for however you want this game to feel like. And if it does, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye bye!